and welcome back to another episode of the Books Central podcast. I'm your host, Abbie, and joining me today is my good friend and editor, Lisa. We will chat about the different stages of publishing a manuscript.
Hello, Abbie. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here, Lisa. So let's dive into our topic today and discuss the various stages of publishing a book. Lisa, as an editor, can you explain to our listeners what your role is in the publishing process?
Of course. An editor's role involves correcting and revising a manuscript to ensure it's free from grammatical errors, typos, and continuity issues. We work with authors to help them refine their ideas, ensure that their story flows correctly and that the language and tone fit their intended audience.
That's a great explanation. So, let's talk about the different drafts of a book. What's the difference between the first and second drafts?
The first draft is often called the rough draft, wherein an author gets their ideas on the page, even if it's not perfect. This draft is more about capturing the story's essence. The second draft, on the other hand, polishes everything up and fixes plot holes and character development issues. This is where the manuscript starts to take shape as the final product.
That's really interesting. Can you share a real-life example of where you've encountered continuity issues in a manuscript?
Sure. I once worked on a manuscript where the main character wakes up in the morning to sunshine streaming through the windows. But a few paragraphs later, the author writes that it's nighttime. Such slip-ups stay undetected unless an editor goes through the manuscript and flags oversights.
That's a great example. So, what's the difference between proofreading and line editing?
Proofreading is about catching the little details, like spelling mistakes, typos, punctuation, and capitalization errors, in a manuscript. Line editing, on the other hand, looks at overall structure, tone, and style, but also the pacing, narrative arc, word choice, and voice. Line editing is more in-depth than proofreading. Both types of editing are essential in producing a polished manuscript.
Great insight. So, how long does each editing phase take?
It depends on the manuscript's length and the writer's command of the language and the story. Line editing can take about 2 weeks to a month, sometimes longer if there are multiple rounds of editing. But typically, a proofreader can complete proofreading anywhere between 5 days to 1 week.
Thank you for answering that. What advice can you give aspiring writers looking to share their manuscripts for the best chance of getting traditionally published?
I'd say the best advice is for them to invest in professional editing services. They can benefit from a professional editor's experience and objectivity to see their stories in a fresh light. Having that extra set of eyes on your manuscript can help catch any mistakes, polish a book's rough edges, and prepare it for publication.
Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining me, Lisa. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today's show.
Thank you, Abbie. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you for tuning in today. Hope you enjoyed this week's Books Central podcast. Join us next week as we dive deeper into the literary world.